Hey everyone, back on the water, getting ready to go look for some cats. I hope we can get on them today. Let's go find out. Okay guys, that's my first bait going down. That's a live bluegill that I caught last night and kept alive for my trip this morning. We're just gonna drop that here next to the kayak and see what that'll do for us. Feels like the water levels are fairly high right now, but truthfully we're probably about where about normal, about where they ought to be. I'd say water levels came up a couple of feet, probably makes it so we've got more current out here than what we have had on recent outings. Gonna be a little bit more bow in the line there, and probably gonna cause me to maybe stop and look at locations that a week ago I wouldn't have looked at. These fish, you know, with the rising water levels, may have got displaced out of where they might normally have been and might be up in some other stuff that last week would have only been in inches of water. So we're gonna give it a minute here, and same as always, just give it a few minutes and then we'll move on to the next spot and just go see if we can find something. Are we rolling? That thing scared the heck out of me. He nailed it. Just suddenly, bam, rod is buried. Wow. That's exciting. Holy cow, that got my heart racing. Oh, I don't think it's a very big fish, but he hit it hard. Whew, holy cow. Oh man. A little flathead, but still got plenty of fight in him. Oh my goodness, my legs are shaking, my heart is pounding. Oh my, these fish are just so much fun to catch. And that's kind of what I was hoping, was if I came out here with a live bait today, maybe I'd improve my odds of hooking into a flathead. And that one there is easily the smallest flathead I will have caught this year, but I have not caught many, and they're just so much fun to catch. So I'm more than happy to get him if I can land him. Doesn't look like he's hooked super great, kind of just there in the skin patch in the corner of the mouth. So if we can get him landed, that'll be flathead number 4 on the year, and it'll be the smallest of the year. We've progressively gotten smaller. Gone from the biggest at first and down to now the smallest, number 4. And the way he hit that, I mean, it terrified me. I was sitting here looking at my phone, and all of a sudden I just felt this boom. The kayak started tipping a little bit. My rod was in the water. I think I might be able to get him landed here soon, so we're gonna maybe give him just a minute. Flatheads don't take quite so much time as like the channel cats do to play out, but they're just a lot of muscle. So we're gonna see if we can get him landed, get a quick picture. All right, there he is. We got him in the kayak. That hook, if you can see, is just there. Got him in the skin patch, so we'll try to pop it free, which was very easy to do. And there's a better look at him. That fish was a lot of fun to catch. I'm sure glad to have gotten him. Not a very big flathead, though he would compare to many of the channel cats that I catch out here when I'm fishing. But the way he hit, I mean, I can't express enough how much fun it is to hook into these fish, even these smaller fish. And I'm sure glad to have caught that one there. So I'm gonna get him released here quick and let him go home, and we'll move on and see if we can find another one of his friends. All right, we've had our fun with him. We're gonna let him go now. Here on the right side of the kayak is easiest for me. Just like that, he's home. Like I said, guys, that was I mean, I was just sitting here playing on my phone, and my rod, I've got these baits suspended right under the kayak. My rod was just sitting here in my lap, and suddenly I just feel a boom, and the kayak kind of tips a little bit, and I look over real quick, and my rod is in the water. And obviously that was not a real big fish, but they're just a lot of fun to catch. I brought live baits out here today because I was hoping to find some fish like that. Also, we're in the summer months. The heat, you know, fish are done spawning, I think, now, but they're just sluggish. They're slower. The bite is much slower than what it was in the spring, which is normal. But I thought maybe, you know, I'll come out with some live baits, and maybe that'll do something extra for me to entice a bite. But I'm gonna probably go ahead and just continue floating downstream. Gonna replace my bait there. We'll hang on to it. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, we'll hang on to that bait. And we'll go ahead and hang on to that bait. We'll just keep it here in the kayak, and you know, if we get an itch or an urge to drop a cut bait down, then we'll have some here available to use. Otherwise, I'm gonna grab another live bait out of the cooler, get another live bait on the hook. We're gonna float downstream here a little ways, find another little lay down in the water like this one here, and drop another bait and see if we can find one of that fish's friends. Maybe one a little bit bigger than that one. And that'll be the next bait going down, just a small bluegill there. And get it dropped down and see if we can find something else. There's another one hit just like the last one. Make sure that camera's rolling. Suddenly just felt a thump. It scared the heck out of me. About made me jump out of the kayak. Oh, he's gonna get some muscle behind him now too, isn't he? Okay. Trying to hold him out in front of the kayak to keep him off of the logs that are behind me the other way. Oh man, these fish just have a lot of power. Oh my goodness, lots and lots of power. Just kind of tow you where they will. Oh, it's only been just a few minutes, and that one there is about cookie cutter size to the last one. Although this one is pulling a little bit harder, I'll have to say. That's about the same size as that last one that we caught. And it hit just the same way, and it's only been a few minutes. I've only gone about 50 yards downstream. But I'm just sitting here, and then suddenly you feel a thump. And your rod tips in the water, and it scares the heck out of me. Even though I know I've got a bait in the water and I'm wanting that to happen. I think that's my version of a roller coaster. My wife thinks I'm crazy because I hate roller coasters, and the reason is I hate that feeling. That terrible, I don't know, like pit of your stomach feeling that you get as you're inching towards the top of the roller coaster, knowing that you're about to go down. I hate that feeling, and yet here I am doing this, and it's almost the same kind of sensation for me. You feel that thump. The kayak rocks. It kind of scares you a little bit. Out here chasing the same feeling that my wife's chasing when she's riding a roller coaster. Maybe that'll help her understand why I always want to go fishing every weekend. Well, let's get this one landed here. It's, like I said, about cookie cutter size to the last one. Not a real big fish, but a lot of fun to catch. And we'll keep moving on and see if we can find one a little bit bigger. And there's another one in the kayak. See if we can... That hook is in there a lot better on that one. We might need some assistance from the pliers. Put some more slack in my line first. Try and get that out of my way. That's just an adrenaline rush. Yeah, that one wasn't going anywhere. Hook popped out a little easier than I thought it would, though. Well, there's a look at another beautiful Kansas flathead. Not a bad fish. It's hard to complain when you're catching fish like that, and like I keep saying, and I've said many times before, they're just fun. I feel like the flatheads, the channels that I catch have an attitude, so they fight a lot harder for their size, The flatheads, you can feel the power. So even on a smaller fish like this, that's probably a 10-pound fish, you can just feel the power behind them when they're pulling. And of course, we're in this shallow water, so it just makes them feel even bigger. And then with the additional current that we've got that we haven't had all year out here today, it just makes for a really good time. I'll get this fish released, and wasn't long until this one hit. We caught that last one, so we'll go see if we can get another one to bite. Alright, this one's got to be released on the left side of the kayak. We'll try to do so. Give him a chance to catch his breath, and we'll try to let him swim away on his own. I think he's ready. There he goes. Alright, just like that, we got two flatheads in the boat. I don't know if it's the stretch of river that we're fishing, or the rise in the water levels, or the bait that I'm using. I try not to put too much stock into the bait, because I know there's an ongoing debate in the catfish world about live baits versus cut baits, and I would suspect that the general consensus would be live baits for flatheads, cut for channels and blues. However, my biggest flatheads have come on cut bait. I've caught more big flatheads on cut bait than live baits, but I fish cut baits a lot more often than live baits as well. So I don't know, it's hard to say, but I'm just glad that what we're doing has worked. We got those two fish, were a lot of fun to catch. We're gonna move on downstream here a little ways. I see a pretty big laydown in the water down there. I don't know really what it's gonna end up looking like until I get up to it, but I think since that fish threw our bait off, I need to replace a bait. I've got one big green sunfish in my cooler back here. That laydown looks pretty good. I think I might put that big bait on and see if it can get us a bite. Alright folks, I pulled that right there out of the cooler. You can see, not huge, but for the water I'm fishing and compared to the size of the other baits that I got in the cooler, that's a pretty big bait. Green sunfish tend to work pretty well. Here in Kansas, we can transport for use as live bait both bluegill and green sunfish. So if I can get him to put his fins down, I'll try to run my hook, in the back, just, I don't know, a little ways behind the head, closer to the head than to the back. Try and get him to sit, if you can, kind of even on the hook. And in addition, when a catfish hits, they tend to hit the head side first, so they don't get a fin stuck in their throat. And get those scales off of the hook there. And there you go. That there is a pretty big, lively live bait for us. If that doesn't conjure up something for us, then they're just not big enough to eat it. Folks, I want you to get a look at that. Look at that. That thing's a frog. That thing is camouflaged well. I have never seen anything like that. Whichever one of you can hop in the comments and tell me what that thing is, I'd appreciate it. That is interesting. Well, I guess now's as good a time as any to give you guys an update while we're looking at that frog back there. That location, you know, I put that green sunfish on, saw a big laydown in the river downstream that I wanted to hit with it. Ended up not fishing that laydown. I couldn't figure a way to safely anchor the kayak and fish it effectively. So I passed on it, and that's, you know, pass on one location. There may be a fish there, it may be a good spot, but I'll just go downstream a little ways and fish a location that I can fish more effectively and in a safer way. It's cool to catch big catfish, but it's even cooler to go home safely and not get injured out here. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I passed on that location. I fished a couple of other spots as I worked my way down through here. Nothing else going on. I'll probably give it a little while longer just see if I can't get something else going, and then I'll have to start paddling my way back out of here. I've got to fight against the current to get back to where I launched from, so that's not going to be a lot of fun. But that's where we're at right now. So I've still got that green sunfish on. He's still plenty lively. I'm going to go ahead and continue fishing him. Hopefully we'll find something that's aggressive enough or large enough to want to have a big meal. Folks, I think he got eaten. I think he got eaten. That big green sunfish. Either he got eaten or he got real heavy all of a sudden. I don't know. They're just kind of sitting with it. I don't know what to do. Nope, it came off. Oh, buddy, what had ya? You can see some scarring down here on the back side of him. I don't know. Never will know, I guess. Again, something's on him again. Same thing, just kind of sitting with him. Could be a gar, could be a flathead. Feels like a fish. I know there's a lot of snags here on the other side of me, so this is going to be a chore to try and keep him out of that. Oh, man. Whatever he is large. It's got to be a flathead. Oh, my. Oh, he's going to get us in something down there. Oh, okay. I need to fix my anchor. I'm not anchored down well at all. Oh, okay. 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 Oh, keep him out of that stuff. Oh, geez. Okay, let's fix the camera here. Oh, that thing. I thought I was anchored a little better than that. I came loose or something. Pulled me off. Makes for poor footage, but makes for a good time. That's a little bit bigger fish there, but he's still not huge. I mean, I was thinking that was gonna end up being a 30, 40, something like that, and he buried the rod. That's probably a solid 20 pounder, but I don't know, maybe not quite 20, but wow, that was exciting. My aerator is snagged on some brush back here. All right, we still got to be careful and play this smart, because obviously we're on a bunch of structure in the water here. We got to try and keep that fish out of it and play him out a little bit before we land him. Holy cow, that was exciting. The big green sunfish got eaten. Man, that's awesome. I'm trying to figure out how to land this thing, because the way I anchored is not really working super well for me, but I'm wondering if maybe I can turn around the other way and land him here on the right side of the kayak. I think that might work for me. I got to be careful and keep him away from the snags and everything. Well, that wasn't really working either. Not totally sure what I'm gonna do here. See if we can get him in. Got my hand on him here. See if we can land him. Oh, and he's in the kayak. All right. I think what I'm gonna do is unhook here. Get my rod out of the way first. I'm gonna let that fish ride here in the bottom of the kayak for a second. Oh, if I can keep him from hurting me. And try to get over. Oh my goodness. Try to get over to a flat bank that I can get up on with the flooded water level, the banks are difficult. It can be difficult to find one that will work to get up on. I might be able to do it here. Okay, I got up on the bank. Man, these banks here with the flooded water levels just made it really difficult to find a location that you can get out of the kayak. But we've got up here on the bank now. Fish there in the kayak. Gonna hurry up, get it unhooked, get a picture with it, get it released. That little lay down in the water right in front of us is what he came off of. I don't know, I didn't really have super high expectations for that location there, but it turned into a nice fish for us. So we're gonna get it landed now. All right, there's a better look at that fish. That's a really good quality flathead. That was an exciting time, man. We had that big green sunfish on there. Had our fingers crossed for a quality fish to hit. I think this one acted a little bit bigger than what it really was. A lot of that was due to a poor anchor job on my part. But I don't know, something about the flatheads, or I don't know, their attitude, the weather, probably the weather, maybe the bait, has just got them a little more active. Maybe time of year. But they're more active today than what they have been. I've doubled the number of flatheads I've caught this year today. Got 3 all year, got 3 today. The 3 I've caught today are smaller, but this one here is a good quality fish. Certainly not upset with it. I'm more than pleased with it. I'm gonna go ahead and get it back released. It's been out of the water long enough. Let's put it back where it belongs. All right, got that fish back in the water. We're just gonna take care of it right here by the kayaks. It's about the only spot I can get access to the bank. And I think he's ready to go, so we're gonna let him go. And there he took off for us. About slid into the river there, had to correct my footing, but that was a really good quality fish. Had high hopes for that green sunfish. It did not let us down. I'm glad I didn't bother with that location that I had originally thought, man, this is the spot for this bait. There just wasn't a great way to be able to fish it safely. So I moved on, came to a different location. Truthfully, it's a lesser looking location. You saw the result. I'm glad I fished it. I don't know if it's the time of year or the weather. I want to say it's the baits. I'm glad I brought live baits out here today because they've worked really well for me today. But I don't think it's the bait. Like I've said, the biggest flatheads that I have caught, probably the most, or as far as numbers of fish, flatheads that I've caught as well, have all come on cut bait. So cut bait's done really well for me on the flathead bite, but obviously today the live baits are working out. And the one thing I've noticed, it's been a while since I fished with a live bait, but the one thing that I've noticed is that when these flatheads hit that live bait, man, they're predators. You just feel it. You feel that thump, and the kayak rocks, your rod tip's in the water, and it's on. It's a lot of fun. They're really predatory fish. Earlier this year, I caught much bigger flatheads on rod and reel with cut bait. The bite wasn't like that. It was a slow, subtle, your rod tip just starts to go down. And then the fight was on again. It was still a lot of fun, but just a different way that they hit. I think that is due to the bait, but you know, I don't fish live baits enough to be able to say one way or the other which one's more effective. I would fish them more often, but it's very difficult to catch them and keep them and transport them and all that. Just a lot easier to fish cut bait, and it seems to work well. Obviously, we haven't got any channel cats out here today. Fishing the cut bait, you can sometimes increase the number of fish you catch because you're going to get some of those channel cats and some of the smaller fish, but you're going to be dealing with real little fish biting it, pecking at your baits too, and you got turtles and everything else. So nevertheless, I'm going to stop talking. I don't know what my plan's going to be, guys. I think I'm going to float down just a little bit farther. I don't know if I'll fish, maybe fish a little bit more, but it's getting on into the day here. It's starting to get pretty warm. I got those 3 fish, so I may just fish a little while longer and then call it quits. This is a stretch of river that I haven't fished before, so I'm sort of exploring as I fish. I'll fish it a number of times in the coming weeks, and as I fish it more, I'll become more familiar with it and be able to kind of pick out spots and skip over others. But you know, I haven't been able to fish the whole stretch out here today. I don't think I'm going to, but we'll get at it another time. So anyway, I guess I'll hop back in the kayak, float downstream, see what else we can find, and just give it a little while longer before we call it a day. All right guys, I put one more bait on there, floated downstream here a little ways. I haven't gone as far as I can, but there's a few spots here. I'm just gonna fish. I'm gonna turn around from here and head back, but I'm just gonna fish a few spots on the way back. Oh, on bottom already maybe? There's a lot of structure in the water over here, which is why I wanted to fish this spot. See what I can feel down there. A lot of structure in the water through this section, but just not really any great place for me to anchor up a kayak and be able to fish effectively. But a lot of like old car bodies and old large metal tubes and stuff like that in the water, undercut banks, that makes great habitat along that river bend over there for flatheads. Just not a good way to fish it from the kayak. I maybe need to come down in a little John boat or something that I can anchor down with and cast baits to that structure. But for now, I'm content just passing on it and moving on to the next likely location that I can fish adequately from the kayak. So that's obviously what I'm doing out here today. I don't have the John boat. I don't have an option to cast. Well, yeah, there's just not a great way to anchor a kayak over there. I could potentially cast a bait from the kayak, but I have to get creative on the way to anchor it. So there's just a couple locations here. I'm going to drop a bait. I've got the baits with me and I'm down here, so I may as well see what happens with them. Fish this one and then paddle back upstream. There's a couple up there that I'm going to hit, and then I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and call it a day. So, you know, if we don't get another fish, I guess I'll go ahead and call this the closing of the video. I had a great time out here today. It's a lot of fun to explore new water. I had a great bite, really. You know, a 3-fish day doesn't seem like an excellent day probably to a lot of you, but on this body of water, 3 fish, especially 3 flatheads in one morning, is a really successful outing. So I'm more than pleased with the trip that I've had. I have had a blast, a lot of fun out here today. I hope you guys have had just as much fun coming along with me. We'll see you in the next one.